Just when America has reached a breaking point with division, visionary influencer Danni Benson's I'm Proud of You Sis bro movement taps into the pulse and heartbeat of a culture radically torn. But this loving mom's voice of reason and calm has received national recognition.
How do you balance having your children and always traveling with the Yankee organization?
When I became a dad, I said that I would always love like a mother.
I feel like I have to hide certain things or act a different way because I know some people or some kids.
So join Danni Benson as she celebrates her special guests on her show and highlights their gifts and contributions to our world.
Hi, everyone. My name is Danni Benson. I am the founder of Self Love Day, and I'm proud of you, sis. Thank you for coming on my show. I'm proud of you, sis. How's everyone doing today? I am so happy that you are here. I hope everyone's having, I don't know, like just enjoying like the summer weather. I mean, right now it's super hot. I don't want to complain. I still don't want to complain because I know I hate the cold either. I just wish it could just be spring or fall weather 365 days of the year without the humidity, without the snow. But I have this amazing guest. Her name is Shaniqua Inspires. She's a motivational speaker, accountability coach. She's actually also a TEDx speaker, a publisher of several books. She has 2 podcasts called Sisterly Sundays and The Black Girl Encourage Her. And I am so happy to have her on this show. She's super busy, so I'm so happy she's here. I actually got to do her show called The Black Girl Encourage Her. So please go on her YouTube and watch my interview. And please come on my I'm Proud of You Sis YouTube and watch Shaniqua Inspires interview. So everyone, welcome Shaniqua to the show. Hi.
Hey.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're so busy because I know you're doing so many things. Yes. You're a speaker, you're an author, you're a coach. So I want to say thank you so much. I want to give you your flowers. I am so proud of you, sis. I'm telling you, you are doing it. And I love to highlight the people that we really need to know about. Not the, like the people on social media that do little clickbaits and stuff. I don't think they're as inspiring as people like you every single day in the grassroots, in the streets, trying to change this world one person at a time. So I'm so happy that you are here on I'm Proud of You, sis. And we were just talking about just the holidays and stuff like that. And you were explaining to me why the 4th of July doesn't have the same resonance as it was when we were growing up. And I wanted to we could just talk about it for just a few minutes and then we could talk about you for a second. But I just thought it was an interesting conversation because my parents were born in Haiti. And so I'm first generation American, but when you come into my house, I'm speaking French, it's this French language, it's a French tradition, like the Haitian tradition in our family. But as soon as I walk out of the house, then I assimilate and I do everything America. So I was raised because we are immigrants and we do everything America, and I'm first generation American. The 4th of July, when I was growing up, was a thing. We celebrated, Independence Day, and I love the fireworks, and my kids got to see the fireworks, and I think understood it this time around, like what it meant, right? But then you said to me, you don't celebrate 4th of July. And I got a couple of people that day. I was saying happy 4th. And a couple of people came to me, was like, I don't celebrate it. I was like, oh, okay. So then I'm asking you why. And I said, you know what? Let's wait and talk on the show first. So why?
Sure. Well, for me, it was just an awakening. And I love what you said about how you were not born here in America. So you almost kind of feel like it's a separated, like, so when you came in, you had to assimilate, you had to take on the traditions and everything. And so for myself, I was born and raised here. My mother was born and raised here. My father's from the Caribbean. But ideally, he was born and raised here. He spent his time in Harlem. So he got acclimated really, really quickly. And in fact, one of his testimonies, his stories is that he had to hurry up and get acclimated. He had to drop his accent because he used to get bullied every day because he spoke with the quote unquote accent. So he made it his business, having to fight his way through. He made it his business to take on the ways of the American traditions and societies and cultures and things of that nature. But for me, the 4th of July is literally just a Thursday. Well, this year it was just a Thursday. It's really just a day, and that was from my awakening. And you asked me, when did that start? And I'm like, well, I guess once we started to hear more about Juneteenth, because growing up here in the United States, we didn't hear about Juneteenth. We didn't know what it was. So when we learned about the 4th of July, yes, we celebrated it because we thought everyone had received their freedom. But now in my adult brain, it's like, well, wait a second. Everybody didn't get their freedom. America got its freedom, but not everyone who was either a natural born citizen or was brought over and made this their home. So for me, just in my adult brain, it just doesn't, the celebration of it doesn't sit well with me. Now, do I love fireworks? Yes, it's entertaining. It's beautiful. You know, Macy's does their whole big to do. It's beautiful, but I kind of feel like once you've seen it, okay, enough is enough. Do I love a good barbecue? Absolutely. Even though I don't eat meat, bring me the potato salad, bring me the macaroni salad, give me the chips. Like I can blend in. It's fine. But my question is, what are we really celebrating? If my ancestors, if my generation, if my people were not made free, then what are we celebrating? Are we celebrating a Thursday? Okay, then if we're celebrating Thursday, let's kick it up, strike up the band, let's have a grand old time. And even in this day and age, I still feel like we're not truly free. Not to make this a whole political agenda. These are just my thoughts and my feelings. Everybody is to their own. So I don't knock someone who says, oh, happy 4th. And, you know, you got your red, white, and blue. I wore blue on that day. I put on a blue t-shirt. Was I trying to blend in? Possibly, right? Because that's what we learned. That's what the culture tells us. Like we have to blend in. And
well,
I loved how
as immigrants, we're taught to assimilate to the country that you come to.
So because you're supposed to be happy to be here.
Well, I have to be honest. My parents were happy to be here. When we left Haiti, it was a beautiful country. When my parents left, it was the leadership was Baby Doc, and he was a extremely hard dictator in the 70s and 80s. It was Doc, and it was Baby Doc. So my parents, the way it works in Caribbean countries is it's not like materialistic things you have. It's the education you have. So the higher education you have, the more you are successful and the more you'll get opportunities as like having the chance to come to America. Because you know how the citizenship works in America. They try to get the people who are, I guess, college educated. You know, when they give a green card, like a lot of sponsorship is with other countries is because of their intelligence and education. So that's what happened with like my parents. That's how they got recruited to come here, was the fact that my dad was a professor in Haiti, and my mom was a nurse. So they were picked, I guess when they signed the thing, they were picked. So once they got here, so once they got here, I think with any culture, you want to blend in, you want to be accepted, right? You want to, you're American, right? Look, because I'm American, right? So you want to do the traditions of the country. I feel like whatever country you do go to, we might disagree on this. If you live there, you do kind of celebrate the tradition of the country, whether you were part of that tradition or not. True. But I do understand why, because when you say Independence Day, it wasn't independence for all. It was independence for basically white Caucasian people and Black people were still slaves when Independence Day happened. So they weren't free. So that's why I need people to understand what Juneteenth means, because Juneteenth was a holiday, and I stopped at the mall real quick. It was packed. And I was like, but I thought it was a holiday of freedom. So it's so sad that one segment of the population is celebrating Juneteenth, and the other segment of the population, some of them feel like it's just a day off, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
We do need to come to a point where we join together and celebrate each other differences, meaning that 4th of July, I get that we weren't all free, but also I can constellate that, being here in America, because of what happened 4th of July, we get to have the opportunities we have now, right? That's the way I see it in my mind. Do you agree with that, or you don't agree with it? Because if they weren't free, if Columbus, 4th of July never happened, then maybe they would not be this America today.
Right. Things would definitely look differently if we had not fought, if those who died and gave their lives. So there's no disrespect. There is all honor for those who served, and that's all nationality. So every party that had a hands in getting the country its freedom, my hats go off, my heart goes out, prayers up to each and every individual. The way I look at it now is simply about the word itself: independence, freedom. And even today, even though we might have certain opportunities that are afforded to us now because of X, Y, and Z, I still feel like we don't have that total freedom, that total autonomy, to do, to be, to love. I just don't feel like we've got it all according to which the definition says. So, but I respect everybody who celebrates. You pick and choose which holidays. There are people who celebrate Halloween. I don't do Halloween. If you do Halloween, high five to you. I'll let you know when I see the candy on sale. It's all good. But everyone has to get to a place where they're comfortable in their own hearts, where it sits well with them, where they're able to be who it is that they're designed to be, and celebrate and love and choose. You got to get to that place on your own. So I don't try to force my feelings and my thoughts on anyone else. This is just the interpretation. This is just what doesn't sit well with my spirit. And, I do recognize the fact that everybody, first of all, we all love to celebrate. We'll celebrate Mondays. We'll celebrate Fridays. We love a good celebration. My question is, what is it that we're really, truly celebrating? So I appreciate you sharing your testimony with your family, because where your parents were in Haiti was not a good situation. And yes, to many people this day and age, America is that safe haven. And I'm grateful for that. I say, welcome everyone in who can bring, to the table, whether you're, highly established or not. Everyone should have that right to feel and to taste that freedom.
But I understand there are Black Americans, because we got dropped off in different ships. So we all probably came from Africa. My family got dropped off in Haiti. All the Caribbean, all ancestry is Africa for the most part. But Black Americans' history is different in this country because of slavery. And I talked to my parents, and my parents are not sure if we have the lineage of slavery in Haiti. You know what I mean? Because we were all dropped off, right? Christopher Columbus came to Haiti. It was Hispaniola, and now it's like Haiti and Dominican Republic. But I know like the traumas are lasting here in America. The Black American traumas. And I think the reason is the fact that we want to be seen. See, what happens in in the Caribbean islands is it's a Black president. It's basically Black people working together, leadership. So we all, of course we have our rights and stuff, but racism is not an issue unless it's like the light skin, dark skin thing. So you know what I'm talking about. If you're light, you're dark, right?
Yeah.
But in America, it's different. Black Americans is different here because I feel like it still exists. Like the resonance of the smell of slavery still exists. And I know I speak to friends, you know, I don't want to say white friends, but I speak to friends and they say, well, that has nothing to do with me. And I say to them that it has something to do with you, just like the blood of your generation is in you also. Therefore, it is your responsibility to, I feel, right any wrongs that happen. Whether it was your choice or not, if your legacy benefited, you know, because people need to understand that that African Americans born in this country, labor was free. Labor was built for free. So imagine hiring someone and you don't have to pay them. So all of that money, all that profit is coming to you and you don't have to pay the person, right?
Right.
So people have to understand, like, the foundation of this country was built on Black slaves. It was built on free labor. You know, even the children that were being brought and raised was, you know, Black women raising those children. Do you understand what I mean? So we have, so that's why I say we are part of the history. I don't like how they separate it and make it seem like it's two different histories, where it's Black American history and then it's American history.
It's African history. Yeah. It's all African history. And it doesn't matter, like I said, whichever boat you got on, it all boils down to the African history. So whether we were afforded, those that were brought over here to America and we started to get certain luxuries and things, it was all off of the backs of the history, the legacy of the Afro descendants. So I was actually talking to someone a week ago and they had made that comment about the Afro descendants. And I loved it because we finite the differentiation too much. Okay, well, it's Haitians, it's Dominicans, it's this,
Jamaicans,
it's all Afro.
It's
Afro
Trinidadian.
exactly.
It's
so it doesn't matter what
it's
island, which flag you represent, you know, it doesn't matter. Whether it's the American flag, it is still about Afro. It's about the African history. And I think that's where we all need to circle back to, because I remember when I traveled to South Africa, when you're getting your passport stamped, they tell you, welcome home. Now, do I know if any of my people came from South Africa or whatever? It was just the semblance of it to say that this is your land. Africa is where we originated. And it doesn't matter if you got the red and white and blue flag, you got the green, black, and yellow. It doesn't matter. Your roots, your history, your lineage, your cellular genetic makeup is about the Afro roots. And it's a whole big story. It's a whole big it's a mess. It just, for lack of a better terms, it's really a mess. But I pray that one of these days that we will get it right, whether it's in my generation, whether it's the generations to come. But I pray that one day we will get it right. But what I would say to people is to start paying attention. Don't just accept, you know, to get along, like really look into not just what you're celebrating. That's not even what we're talking about here. It's about the lineage. It's about the heritage. So this is where we get our freedom. This is where we get our independence. It's where we get our pride, right? Our pride comes from the lineage. So we need to learn how to stand tall and flat-footed and be proud of who it is that we are and who it is that we are today based upon the lineage that we come from.
No, you are so right when you say that. And that's for everyone in every culture to be proud. That's why I tell my kids, you're not only American, you're Haitian American.
Yes.
So you have to be proud that you do know how to speak Creole, you do know how to speak French, but you do know how to speak English also, because you're two parts, right?
Yes.
And what I need humans to understand is we're all the same people, designed by God.
That's right.
And we're just a different color, different experiences, different culture, but we're all humans, right?
Exactly.
And then
Exactly.
if you believe in God, this is the thing that I don't understand. If you believe in God, you believe in God, you believe in God, it says in the Bible, I don't understand how you could even have any hate for any other human being when they were made in the eyes of God.
And you know where it comes from? It's like that. We call it in today's society like that crabs in a barrel. So we believe that in order to, get the attention on us, that we have to bring someone else down. Like, so I need God to love me. I don't want God to love anybody else. So what can I do? What can I say? How can I treat them? And it's like, that is so wrong. God loves all of us. We are all divinely connected and created. So there is no, if I do more of this, it's going to make you love them less. That doesn't work. So that was a human intuition that came about. And it really isn't about race. I was doing some deep dive studying over the weekend, craziness, but it
Wow.
really isn't about race. We were taught to say that it's about race, but it's about the caste system.
It's a social economics. It's about green.
Exactly. It
It's
doesn't have
about
anything to do
green.
with the
I am so happy you
colors.
say that because that's how I always feel. I know people are not going to agree with me or not. I always felt that it was not about the skin color.
It's
I
not
always felt
about
that
the
it was
color.
about the green. The green
You're
is what
dark, you're
matters.
light.
If you are black and you make a
Doesn't
lot
matter.
of money, you're a millionaire, you go right in and you fit right in. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
you're green, you're green, you're here too.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's more green and social economics versus
Yes.
the color of the skin.
It's
And what I
true.
think this country does is they use the color of the skin to divide the
Immensely.
same people who are on the same level.
Yes.
Same level, meaning like I got this job, you got this job. Okay, so we got to make them hate each other
Yeah.
because we need one to vote this way, we need the other one
Yeah.
to vote this way. So what are we going to use? Because they both make the same money, right? So
Yeah.
what are we going to use? Skin color.
Yeah.
And what are we going to say? Well, because this person is black, you're white. This is your birthright. Like you were, this is your independence day, so to say. Like this is
Right.
your country more than their country. So they put this
They
thing,
divide us.
they divide us, and I
Yes.
want people to see that they're dividing us. I want people to understand that what you see in TV is not what's happening in real life. I want people to understand TV is clickbait, blogs is clickbait. What do you want? How do you want to feel about African Americans? Let's just show them killing people, robbing
Yeah.
people. But I say to people all the time, 99% of them are boring, just like me. 99% of African Americans want happiness, want to be able to have a good job,
Same
to
goal.
get their American, the American dream, and be able to travel and be able to have the freedoms of God. Because this is the thing. The Second Amendment says you could carry, right? I was asking someone like, I never understand. Is it only certain races that could carry? Because as soon as they say a black person has a gun, and that's the reason they shot the person, I'm like, wait, but aren't we protected under the Second Amendment? Why would you assume that because I have a gun that I'm going to do something illegal? So why is the excusable of he had a gun, so I shot him first?
Right.
I don't understand.
So it's like
I
you give
thought
the
we could
liberties,
carry.
you give the liberties, you give the freedom, right? You give the independence, but it doesn't really mean anything. And so they have to have a reason to dislike you, to discredit you, because they've already given you the authority. They say you're free now, okay? But they have to have something. And that's where the color of your skin has become the major issue, but it has nothing to do with the color of your skin. It does boil down to the almighty dollar and what can be benefited from it. So you don't have to take my word for it. You don't have to take Danny's word for it. All I'm saying is just open your eyes. And sometimes
just like the South,
eyes.
South, they're top 10 of the worst education. So, they'll make fun of New Yorkers. We pay high taxes, and we do pay high taxes.
Yeah, we do.
But we do pay our teachers more. I mean, the people down South, teachers are getting $40,000, right? That's number one. Number two, people need to stop voting their interests. That's why I feel like they use the color to divide people, because I feel like Republicans and Democrats are basically all the same. We're all the same. how they divide us is, I feel like they divide us with the color lines, right? Because people down south, their teeth are messed up, they don't have no dental care, but they're voting against their interests. I'm like, how are you voting against universal health care for all when your teeth is messed up, your health is messed up? And for some reason, I think that they're sold the American dream that, you know, you don't need government help. You can just build on your own bootstraps. And yes, I feel like you can build your own bootstraps, but I feel like if you are Americans, we should all be able to help one another.
Sure.
It says it in the Bible. Like I don't like when people cherry pick the Bible. The Bible says, "Blessed are those who help the poor; that will be their sign in heaven." All these chances to help the poor, and everyone's like, "Nope, we're not doing it. We're not going to put our money in it." I was like, "You can't have it both ways. You can't have Christian values, but then you don't really actionably follow the Christian values." So is it just Christian values on paper, but when it's time to do the action behind it, you don't do it? Like, what is it really? Because
the
Christian
lines
values
have gotten so blurred. You know, the lines are so blurred nowadays, and it has distorted the vision. So if we get back to the vision, and I love what it is that you're saying, if we get back to the vision, if we get back to the Bible, to the principles, and like redo, like if there was a redo button, we could hit the redo button and start again. But unfortunately, there is no redo button. We have to just go on grace. I guess grace is our redo button, but we have to constantly revert ourselves back to the principles, to the foundations. And it takes one person to be able to stand and to commune with God and to really get back to their foundation, and then the next person and the next person and the next person. And then hopefully we can get together, because now we're on the same accord, and now we'll recognize, you know, so the Bible tells us that, you know, we'll be recognized by the fruit, right? It's our fruit that is the identifying factor. So people will be able to identify us, to be able to see our heart and not our skin complexion. That was Dr. King's dream, right? That his children were not going to be judged based off of the color of their skin, but the content of their character.
But even the Bible doesn't talk about skin color. The Bible talks about man and women. It never mentions skin color, which lets me know to God, there is really no skin color. I feel like it's an American-made thing. I feel like the skin color is just because melanin is just a variation of the melanin you have in your skin. It's a scientific thing. So it works with evolution. Like, you know, African people,
and it's something you can't
darker.
Control.
Yeah, are darker because the climate was hotter. So we needed the darker skin to protect our, you know, the melanin. We needed more melanin. You know, Caucasian people in the north, they're lighter because it was colder up there. So I just think that everything was just formed with evolution. Even their nose, our nose were fatter because it was humidity. Like today, trying to breathe, so our nose needed to be bigger to allow more air to go in, right? But in European countries, their noses are mostly narrow because it was cold, so they couldn't have all that cold going into their system because their system needed to be a constant temperature, which was 98.7 degrees. I just think everything was just the way it is, just based on scientific evolution. I think we are all the same people, but depending on where you lived in this world, the scientific factor came in and changed what it changed. Even when they say Black people have nappy hair, it's because the sun was beating so much on their hair that they needed to have coils on their hair, or their hair would just it would just be hot all the time, right? But in the north, they had like this nice smooth hair because it was cold. So they didn't need the protection. So I just think that the body just basically was doing evolution based on where you live. And I think now in the society, you use the evolution to pit people against each other to say, I'm better. And that's ridiculous.
When you should be looking at the character of someone's heart.
Yes.
That's what I want people to judge me on. I want you to, once you've heard my heart, once you feel my heart, then judge me. Right? If you're starting to judge me because of the way I wear my hair, or the earrings that I have on, or the color of my skin, that's really a reflection of yourself. But when you can judge me based off of my heart, when you got a chance, an opportunity to hear and to feel my heart, that's the only time when you can really pass judgment on someone. I think it was even on on the show you did with me on the Black Girl Encourage Her. We were talking about people's hearts. Like, where's your heart? You can't judge somebody. So just because I think you use the example of like someone robbing a place, like say you rob a bank, and not saying that it's good, not saying that robbery is good, but you don't know the situation. Maybe it's because they were hungry. Maybe it's because something was going on in their heart, right? And in their mind.
And maybe there was trauma.
Yeah.
Maybe because even look, I'm not saying committing a crime.
Never.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying there's an excuse to commit a crime. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that don't make it black and white.
That's right.
Don't make it black and white.
Make it heart to heart.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's right, but don't make it black and white. Don't make it seem like, okay, he sold this, he's a miserable person. Because then it goes back to the Bible again, because God forgives, right? And God is honestly the only one that can judge.
Yes.
Right? So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like the hypocrisy of people that you can't have it both ways. Either you're going to follow the Bible to the tilt or not follow the Bible at all. You can't just cherry pick what you want, because then that is one of the reasons why with church, I'm so funny with going to church sometimes, because I love going to church to be with God. I have a relationship with God. I love talking to God. But I don't really like being around people who are fake. And people don't understand that, you have to come to church to commune. I'm like, look, I have a relationship with God. God is my Father. I don't have a middleman so I could pray to him so he could pray to God. My parents, I talk to my parents direct. There's no middleman person gonna share my feelings to the middleman person so that they could share it to God. No. If he's my father, just like my father, I'm gonna talk to him directly.
Yeah.
Period. Right? So I have friends I'd be like, but you need to go to church, you need to commune. I can't. My body does not work well. I'm not saying everyone is fake at church, but my body, there's so many people in this country that goes to church. Why isn't this world a better place? Why? You go to church, you praise God. God says, be kind to people, love people, help the poor. You learn all these things in church, right? And then what happens? You leave church, and then like you become this other person.
You start assimilating back into the world. Yeah.
No, the world. That's why it's hard for me. That's why I have a direct relationship with God. I talk to him like he's my best friend. I can talk to him, and for people who don't believe, I apologize, but I am a testimony, so I always have to say that God has helped me through. I'm not like Peter. Do you know God? Do you know Jesus? No, I don't. Yes, I do. And you have the right to believe what you want to believe, just like I have the right to believe what I want to believe, as long as I'm not hurting another soul. That's right? But I just feel that God's home is within us, right? And I don't want to be judgmental and say every church person is a sinner. Let's talk about it. We are sinners, right? But I expect more from church people. So when they say this country is Christianity, but then I expect more from you then. I expect more from you. I expect more than the person who doesn't believe in God at all, right? You believe in God. You read the Bible. You should be treating the person well. You should be treating people the way you want to be treated, like, Jesus Christ said, right? So that's why it's hard for me to actually physically go into a church, because I look at the world and I'm just like, it's a hypocrisy for me.
And see, so that wraps right back to the start of our conversation about the fourth. So some people may choose to go along to get along, just like as you referenced, the people going to church, y'all just blend it in and going on. And then there are some that says, you know what, this just doesn't sit well with me.
And that's why I respect you.
It's the same. Yes.
So that's why I respect you saying your opinion. For the people who are watching this show and be like, oh my God, this is a black and white thing. No, it's not a black and white thing.
Never has been.
It's just understanding. If we could understand each other's cultures and where we come from, we would all be in a better place, right?
And there are going to be people that have a difference of opinion. That doesn't mean that, they're wrong, I'm right, I hate you, you hate me. No, it doesn't have to go there. Like, why does it have to go there? You can disagree with someone. So we might have different parenting styles. We might have different ways we like to wear our hair and the benefits of it. It doesn't mean that somebody else is wrong. It just is based off of their experience. What it means and what it says is that we have different experiences. So if anyone is tuning into this and saying, hey, that Dr. Shaniqua Inspires girl, I don't believe the way she believes. Well, baby, it's just because we've got different experiences. And if we took the time to get to know one another, we might find that our different experiences are not quite so different after all. And that, I think, is the secret.
And your different experiences doesn't mean that you hate the other person.
Exactly.
I just hate when it turns into hate.
Yes.
Like, you despise me, but you don't even know me.
Don't even know me.
That is what I despise. And look, I'm going to just say for my Caucasian friends, I could kind of understand sometimes. See, this is what happens in our country, for better or for worse. The only time I feel like we intermix is really at work. Right? What happens is we live in our neighborhoods. I feel like they're segregated. I mean, sometimes you'll have a trickle here, trickle there, but mostly people live amongst who they have in common with, right? Then they go to work, and okay, I think that's their first interaction with other people, like with diversity. Because when you go to work, you're not going to work with strictly white people or strictly Black people. There's like, it's mostly every type of culture, every type of religion you can think of. And then after that, you go back to your segregated place, right? So some Caucasians don't get it because they don't get it. It's not that they don't get it because they're in it and they don't get it. It's because they've never been in it in the first place. Because when I go to work with you, we're mostly talking about work. And after that, that's it. It's not like we're a communion. It's not like mi casa, su casa. It doesn't really work like that. So they don't get to know us. So the only way they get to know us is through TV. And what they see on TV, negative stuff. What they see on TV, women jumping, Black women jumping, beating each other up. So think about it for a second. If you never really interact with a race, but all you see is the negative stuff on TV all the time about the race, then what are you really going to think about that race? You are going to have your opinions like, oh my God, they're monkeys, they're killers, they're murderers. So television in itself, media in itself, has to stop portraying groups of people in a negative spotlight and not portray equal balance, that there is a positive spotlight too. Because you are powerful and positive, I'm powerful and positive. And like when people meet me, they're like, oh, I didn't think you were going to be this. I was like, what do you think I was going to be? So in their mind, they're thinking about what they see on TV. Yeah. Like, I'm going to be this angry Black woman. Yeah. And they're just like, oh my God, you're just like us. I'm like, yeah. I'm a human just like you, right? Exactly. And what you see on TV is a narrative that they want to push on the Black race. Yes. And I don't know, it's because they're threatened by us. Because I could tell you one thing, we are very creative. I could tell you one thing, if we had the opportunity that other races have, we would be a force to reckon with. And sometimes I feel like they do know it, and that's why they keep putting us where they are, because they are afraid that if we do have all those things, then I know this is crazy, but I feel like we are the chosen ones. I feel like we are chosen ones because we're the only ones with nappy hair. We're the only ones in the world with nappy hair. I feel that something in history happened. Okay, look what's going on in this country today. Like Governor DeSantis. Oh, I don't want them to know about this. I don't know about this. I realize like whoever is the winner of it all gets to write their own history, gets to write their own interpretation of history. So if I made the light bulb and then I share it with you, I'm Black, you're white, and the white person takes the credit, right? Because there's so many things in our histories that we find out that Black people did discover, but because of what was going on at that time, they didn't get the credit. Right. Right? So what I feel is we need to start saying, just hi to each other. Let's start that way. say hi, be cordial. I'd rather be cordial first, and then you make me not be cordial, than not be cordial at all, and you don't even know who I am. I think that's where we need to start there.
I think it
you
starts
cordial.
with healing. I think we each, as an individual, we need to start our individual healing, because a lot of times the reactions are from the unhealed. Like it's
Trauma.
being told due to the trauma, right? The heart with the trauma, the traumatic heart is making the decisions. It's making the gestures based off of the past experiences or what have you. So I think it really is just time that we all start to stay on a journey, on a course for our own individual healing. And that's where I'm at in my own life. It's about my personal healing. I'm not out here in these streets trying to show off and do it for the gram or anything like that. I'm doing it because it's what feels good in my heart. I'm trying to make certain that my heart gets healed. So before the Lord says, okay, it's your time, I want to make certain that I get this thing right. And it is about my self-healing. So I am on a self-healing journey.
So tell me, what is that journey about? When did you start being on this self-healing journey?
It started with me just awakening. It's like just awakening that happens. My brother, we were doing a speaking event together, and he made this comment about, one day you're just in the grind, you're in the midst of it, and then the next day you just are on the other side of the shore, and you start looking around and you're like, wait a second, it's peaceful over here. It's better over here. And so now you want to make certain that you stay on that other side. So I really can't pinpoint. I mean, I probably could if I sat and I thought about it, but just right off the top of my head, I can't really pinpoint when this epiphany, this light bulb moment started to happen. Only thing I knew is one day I woke up, I was on the other side of the shore, and I'm like, wow, it feels good over here. So now how can I stay here? So what it means is that I have to ask myself those hard questions, those questions that somebody else asks you, they're going to get, punched in the eye, but you have to be willing to ask yourself those tough questions. So if a situation happens and you react in a way, yes, you're justified. You're calling out all the reasons. Well, I did it because they said this, and I did it because they treat me like this. I did it because of this person. But why? Why? And I think that's how you get to that self-healing place, is by asking yourself, why? Why did you react like that? Well, I did it because, she deserved it. She's always talking down to me. She's always making me, but why?
And that all comes from
keep answering
from a trauma. Like it's like peeling an onion. It's like
you'll get to the root of it, and the root would be that trauma. Yeah, that root will be that trauma. And once you relinquish that trauma, once you forgive yourself for those layers that you allowed the trauma to make the decision, you let trauma lead, and then you ended up in this rough, tough place. But once you decide in your heart that you want the healed portion of it to lead, then your decisions, your choices, the way you react are different. So it really is about exploring, and you're constantly on your self-healing journey. It's not that I'm going to always say and do things right, but I like the feeling that I get when I'm reacting from a healed heart, as opposed to the drama, the trauma, the turmoil, the anguish, the anxiety that comes when I allow that bruised part of my heart to speak. And that is why, and I'm so grateful that we started this with this conversation, because it is about me healing from a trauma that was inflicted on my ancestors, our our history that got repainted, retwisted, retold. And now in my self-healing journey, I'm like, wait a second, I've still got to heal from those past traumas that had nothing to do with me.
But right? trauma is transferred. It's transferred to the DNA. So if that person wasn't healed from the past, then those sentiments gets transferred to the next generation.
Exactly. And you can't just wash your hands of it and say, well, it wasn't me. I didn't do that to you guys. But it's the trauma. And you've got to be, one of the parts of healing is understanding that people have trauma. You can't be mad at me because I'm traumatized from these past experiences that I've seen over my years of life.
And you can't tell me it's time to move on. Because one thing I respect about the Jews is they say, with Holocaust, we're never going to forget. We're going to talk about this every day. It didn't even happen in America.
Yeah.
But they talk about it all the time. And no one says to them, when you're moving on, no one says, it didn't even happen. Holocaust didn't even happen here, but no one tells them that. So I despise when people say that about, Black Americans, like move on.
But the Holocaust is the same, it's a similar trauma, right? It's not the same, it's a similar trauma, but it came from what they were watching. They were watching what we were doing here in America. It was like a social experiment, right? And they actually said, well, how can we take what they're doing over there? So it's the same thing. Well, the images that are portrayed on TV, what is being
because
in the newspapers, because
with Hitler, it was fair skin, blue eyes.
Mm-hmm.
And
how can we make one race or one class, right? There's that classism again. How can we make one better than the other? Same thing in India. They were all brown skinned. So now they had to pick something else. Well, you lived on the mountains, or you like they were just picking stuff. Like it was the great social experiment. How can we make this work? To modern day, what was the show? American Idol. Now y'all know those people that were watching those seasons and those people they were voting in. I think it was the season. What was it? Sanjay. He was out. But somehow with the people voting, with the right to vote, people were able to save him, to keep him in, where there were definitely more people that had better talent, could sing better, had more stage performance, but it was a social experiment. So we gotta take it back to all back. We just got to keep going back. And it's all been a socio-economical experiment to say, how can we get people to hurt? Because when they're hurting, they're weaker. When they're injured, when they're afflicted, when they have this trauma, they can't go higher. So it is about me being on my own personal self-discovery, my self-healing journey, so that I kind of already tainted my children a little bit, but if they could see me healing, what a beautiful thing for them to be able to heal because they have an example of it.
And then when you heal, you don't get to pass it to them.
Yeah. And then their children. So I'm protecting my grandchildren and my great-grandchildren by me taking action and healing my heart from trauma that I wasn't even around to see. From the trauma of my mother.
So it goes both ways.
It does.
White people say that has nothing to do with me. Black people be like, I'm disconnected, but it still affects me. Yes. So do you understand? So it's your generation to generation affects the next generation. It just affects it based on how you're thinking, how you're feeling, how you do things. And some people are so stuck in the trauma that they're still doing the same thing over and over again and thinking that it's going to change, and it's not going to change, right? Yes. But everyone has to take responsibility and be accountable for their trauma.
That's right.
No one is going to come and save you. I need people to understand that. People be thinking that I'm going to be saved. No, you are the only one that can really save yourself, because you are the closest person to yourself. You should know yourself more than you know anybody else. And if you don't really know yourself, then that's a problem. You
gotta get to know yourself.
Yeah. You
meet yourself. Hi, my name is.
Yeah. Sometimes you gotta say that and maybe start all over again.
Yeah.
And say, like, let me reintroduce myself. Like,
because you're different today than you were last week, right? Because of what you've been throughout the days. So each day you're different, and you do have that right to reintroduce yourself to you. And you can let go of that past trauma, that past hurt. I know that hurts you, but you don't have to still live in it.
So what I pray is that every human being heals their trauma. Mm-hmm. Every human being don't use not knowing something and make them hate something that they don't know, right? I always tell my daughters, is that what you think, or is that someone else's opinion? We have to stop taking other people's opinion as our own. And I feel like in our society, there's some people that never had interactions with the other race, but they'll have an opinion. I'm like, well, where'd you get this opinion from? What you saw on TV? Was this an actual interaction? Or are you just doing the same, like, you know, talking points, right? So people need to start, you know, making decisions based on their experience in that decision making versus reinterpreting what someone else told them. So my kid will say something to me and I'm like, well, is that you or is that the other? Oh, yes, but Molly said it. I'm like, girl, you got to have your own mind.
You got to fact check it.
You got to fact check it. You got to have your own mind. Everyone's journey is different. And you got to figure it out for yourself, because maybe Molly doesn't want to be a doctor, but she can't tell you you shouldn't be a doctor either. And you shouldn't be running with it and say, Mommy, I'm not going to be a doctor because Molly said. No, Molly has a different DNA, has a different purpose in this life. And so do you. So you got to figure it out for yourself. And this is what I'm going to say about society. Before making judgments about why this, why that, find out for yourself.
Yes.
Find out for yourself. Because you're going to find out that we have more in common than we don't have in common. Right? And one of these days, we're going to be fighting aliens. And we're going to be like, we wasted 35,000 years fighting with each other. And now they invaded us. And now we're all kumbaya. Right? That's going to happen one day when all of a sudden it's going to be aliens versus humans. And now all of a sudden we don't even care how each other look because we're the human race.
Yeah, come on. Look, Will Smith was trying to tell us we weren't paying attention.
I know. You know what? I do pay attention. I do pay attention to movies. Yes. I'm one of those, like, sometimes I feel like they tell us through movies. So I really pay attention to like things. It's like that movie with Julia Roberts and on Netflix that was made by the Obamas. It was like a movie about we're so much on our phones that one day they're gonna hit us like there's gonna be a cyber attack and we're not gonna know what to do because we're so addicted to electronics that another country could just do a cyber attack and it's over for us, right? So I want to say thank you so much for coming on. I'm proud of you, sis. We need to do a part 2 because we have to talk about all the other things that you do also. But it just so happens like this fits well with, you know, Juneteenth and 4th of July. And, you know, hopefully people who are listening to this conversation got something out of it. This is not a podcast of hate. It's a podcast of love and trying to understand each other, because I love all peoples unless they give me a reason not to love them, because I'm a Gemini. So I'm one of those. You cross me, I don't love you no more. You don't cross me, we're good. So I don't even care what color you are. Just treat me good and I'll treat you good.
That's right.
But I want to say, everyone, Shaniqua, please tell everyone your pages, please, where they can find you.
Well, yes. So on social media, I am known by Shaniqua Inspires. So my website is shaniquainspires.com. On Instagram, that's my social media platform of choice. On Instagram, I'm Shaniqua Inspires. On YouTube, if you're on YouTube, you're taking a listen and, you know, checking this out. I am on YouTube at Shaniqua Inspires. So all things Shaniqua Inspires, all platforms, LinkedIn, Facebook, you'll be able to find me by Shaniqua Inspires. You just got to spell Shaniqua right. That's all.
So spell it for them now. Spell Shaniqua right now. Please spell Shaniqua right now.
Sheniqua. Yes, there are plenty of spellings out there, but there is one Shaniqua Inspired.
Thank you so much for joining. I'm proud of you.
Thank you, Danni.
Flowers. And everyone, have a great day. Bye. Bye, everybody.
Take care.